Hello everyone, my name is Dallin Thuisen, and this is for our video for lesson number 2 entitled Applying Genetics Problems. And so we're going to get into that really quick. So we've gathered this information from problem number 1, and the question that we're trying to answer in A, I guess, is a child with this type of genotype, is born from a woman who has this type of genocode or type, and a man's genotype is that. And we need to determine the possible genotype for each of the parent as well as for the child. And so from here we can see that the child is O blood type, Rh negative, and both of these are recessive, and the dominant or codominant, which we learned right there, M. And so both of these this genotype needs to be both M, or homozygous dominant, M. And so from this, we can kind of plug in the information. We know the mom's blood type is recessive, as well as her Rh negative is recessive, and then she has an MN for codominance. However, with the father, we have a type A blood type. Now, with type A blood type, we can either have a homozygous A, or we can have a heterozygous. And the heterozygous will give us a recessive. And so if we want a child with this, the father's genotype has to be a heterozygous A, and then as well as a heterozygous R. And then for the this type, we know that the father, or for the MN, we know that the father's type is homozygous dominant M, and the mom's is MN, and so we do have that possibility. And so here's the genotypes for each of the parents as well as the child. Now question number 2 is we're looking for proportions, and so we take this information. This is from the man. That was from the man, and this is for the woman, and we just kind of plug it into our Punnett square. And from the Punnett square, we can get these proportions or the possibilities of having certain genotypes. For example, we have homozygous dominant A, we have AB or BA, doesn't matter. And then we have heterozygous A and B. And so what we do is we're looking for a child whose genotype is B. So none of the other ones are straight blood type B except for this one. So this is a 1 out of 4 probability that the offspring or the kid can have it. And then we do the same thing with these genotypes. And so what happens is we take these probabilities, 1/4, 1/4, and 2/4, and we multiply them all together, and we get 1 over 32, or 3.1%. So question number C is very similar to what we did in question number 2. And so if we look at this, we take the information from both the mom and the dad, and we're trying to find the blood type of A, Rh positive, and M. Now this is interesting. So we have blood type A because that's the only proportion that we see right there. But with Rh positive, we know that it is, if it's dominant, if the R is dominant, it's expressed. And so what we do is we add these proportions together, so 1/4 plus 2/4, and we get 3/4. And the last one is 1/4. So we multiply these all together, we get 3 out of 64, or 4.7% chance that they have an offspring of this type of genotype. The last question on part 1 is asking if a man whose blood type is B, Rh positive, and N, he has stated that he cannot have a child that has blood type of O, Rh negative, and MN. However, the mom's information, which is type A, Rh positive, and MN, are given. And so if we look into this, we can conclude that both blood types A and B can be heterozygous, which would have a recessive allele. In order to disprove this and for a child to have a blood type of O, this would give us that possibility by having 2 recessives in a heterozygous. And then for, let's see, we need Rh negative. Well, if it's the same thing, we know that both mom and dad are Rh positive. However, they can be heterozygous R, and therefore giving that possibility once again. And the last one is, we know that the father's NN, the mom is MN, or I guess homozygous dominant and heterozygous MN. And there is a possibility for the child to have MN. Actually, there's two possibilities for that. And so we can have the result that if they're heterozygous for most of their genotypes, this man's statement is incorrect. For question number 2, what we do is we're trying to find the genotypes of parents that are produced with these progeny phenotype ratios. And so what we do is this paragraph right here that is all colorful gives us a lot of detail. For example, a walnut comb, type of like the comb shape on the chickens, is if both alleles, so if we have a dominant right there and a dominant right here, we would get a walnut comb. However, with a rose comb, if one of these is dominant and one of these are recessive, then it's a rose, and so on and so forth with both a pea comb. And if both of them are homozygous recessive, it's a single. Let's see here, or a single comb. And so, for example, part A, we'll just kind of go through part A really quick, and after that, you should be able to answer all the rest of the questions, just for time. But if we take so we have to kind of experiment with this. And so, for example, if we were to do a heterozygous R and homozygous recessive R, and then if we were to do both, I don't know why that's capitalized, my bad. Oh yeah, PP. Yeah, so anyways, let's see here. So yeah, so if we take these possibilities and we do the Punnett score with them, we can have a conclusion that, so we have an RR and a dominant allele right here, and that can be the walnut. For the rose, we need to have a dominant right here and a recessive right here. Actually, I was correct on that, my bad. I was looking, I was doubting myself. The last one is the pea comb, as the first gene to contain 2 recessive alleles, and the second to be to be dominant, and so we get that, and then we get that, and then the last one is just this kind of line right there. And so that's just how you solve for the probability. So there's a probability that either one of these can happen pretty equally, actually. And so that's kind of interesting. Let's see. And so you can do the same process with these. You just kind of guess and check, and just kind of conclude your basis as you kind of go. They kind of build on each other too. So question number 3 is talking about horses and their coats, and we have to kind of find out what is the inheritance pattern for these coats. And just based off the information, I kind of drew like a little Punnett square just to kind of check. And the things that I were really interested in were these ones that are kind of highlighted in green. Well, they are highlighted in green. And we know that from a chestnut, we get just chestnuts. We get a cremello and a cremello, we just get cremello. However, with a chestnut and a cremello, we get 23 or 100% palmino. And so from this, we can conclude that it's an incomplete dominance. And that's just the definition of incomplete dominance, is that it's just kind of a mixture of both of them. And so we can kind of conclude from this would be our answer as well, that a chestnut is homozygous dominant, a palmino is heterozygous, and a cremello is homozygous recessive. And so those are the answers for that problem right there. Fill in the blanks. These just come from the readings that we did, as well as the videos, and so you can kind of double check. I'm pretty sure I'm right on these. But anyways, I don't know if we want to go through each and every single one of them. For example, we talked about, or we saw like overdominance, incomplete penetrance, and epistasis. And so the thing that I really liked, I did a lot of research on epistasis, and for example, you can have the genotype or the genocode to be able to have like hair, or like brown hair, but with epistasis is that there's a gene that's before it that inhibits you to actually grow hair. And so even though you have the genocode for brown hair, if you had the genocode for baldness, you wouldn't be able to have any of that, or you wouldn't be able to express that thing. The last thing that, you just can kind of go through these. These were just dictionary or definitions from the dictionary. Let's see here. Okay, so question G. So we talked a little bit, I think it was from last lesson actually, about the maternal effect. And so we're given these percentages. So we have a dominant factor of 30% and 30% from a heterozygous D as well as a homozygous dominant D, and 40% of a heterozygous recessive D. And as these are mixed together, we can conclude that so if you add these up together, the 30 and the 30, we get 60% dextral and 40% sinistral. The reason why is because it's the mom that has an effect on their kids to be able to have this like a certain type of gene. So that's kind of quite interesting actually. It's the same thing with this. We see the maternal effect again, and it's 40% green and 60% are white. And that just kind of answers that question. Let's see here. Oh yeah, this one was kind of interesting. So we're given this these genotypes, and one is expressed after the other. For example, black is like the ultimate dominant factor. SEPA is the next, cream is the next, and then last but not least is white. And so here's my answer key, or just to kind of so you can follow me. So we're trying to solve for 50% black and 50% SEPA. Well, the cool part is this is we can have many answers. All we really need to have is a black genotype right there, as well as a SEPA genotype right there. And then we just need to have a SEPA genotype right here. But however, with this, since SEPA is greater than cream and white, we can conclude that we can have either one of these because SEPA is still going to be expressed over cream and white. And so there are multiple ways of how we could write this, but I just did the more simpler one. And so this is the genotype of the parents that we can have. Same thing right here, we can have multiple expressed. This is the genotype for the parents, and we get 75% SEPA. I actually did that one wrong when I was copying it over. I'll change that as well really quickly, and just so I get the right answers and no one yells at me. I'm just kidding, no one will yell at me. So this will give us SEPA right here, and this will give us SEPA, and then this one will give us cream. As we continue on, we get 50% black, 25% SEPA, and 25% white. We can conclude that, so this is black, and this is black, and so that'll give us our black, and then this is the SEPA, and then this is the white. And so from this genotype, we can conclude that we can get those proportions out of that. And the last one is 75% black and 25% white. Well, this is fun and dandy. All we really need is a heterozygous, which is CB and CW for both of them. That way we get 3 black, and 1 white right there. So yeah, that concludes this lesson or this video presentation. Hope you enjoy. Let me know if you have any questions and I can answer them for you. Thanks.